The topic of emotional intelligence is one of my favorite topics of all time. And I was reflecting back on my own life as to when it was exactly that I became aware that emotional intelligence was a thing. And one of the memories that stands out for me the most clearly was back during my engineering days when I was running a small team of about 8 engineers under me. I was the team leader for a water process engineering team. And we had to each do a 360-degree survey of the people above and below us. And so I did, a 360-degree survey, anonymous survey of my managers above me, and my team did an anonymous survey of me and my behavioral styles. And it was very, very enlightening. There were things in there that I was not aware of. It was the first time that I think someone held up a mirror to me to show me that I may not be behaving in the way that I may not be being perceived in the way that I think I am showing up in the world. So that's when there's a lack of, say, self-awareness. And self-awareness is an intrinsic part of emotional intelligence. It's not all of it, but emotional intelligence begins with very solid self-awareness. And on that topic of self-awareness, Dr. Tasha Eurich did the famous research showing out of an extensive study of thousands of people that there are two kinds of people. 85 to 90% of all people think they are self-aware, but actually only 10 to 15% of all people are self-aware when it comes to the metrics of a self-aware person. So it's very interesting. The majority of us, like me, if you'd asked me back in my engineering days in my mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s, if I was self-aware, I would have said yes. And yet, having done that 360-degree survey of myself, I realized I wasn't particularly self-aware because how I thought I was showing up in the world is not how I was necessarily being perceived. And while there was a lot of positive that came out of that 360-degree assessment, I showed lots of positive traits and qualities, but it was counterbalanced by some passive defensive behaviors that I wasn't aware of. And this particular test showed assertive behaviors versus passive defensive behaviors versus the positive qualities on top. And so that started for me an exploration of what are those passive defensive behaviors that are showing up for me, in what way, and what's driving them, and how do I change them? So that started a whole sort of journey for me that was probably 20 years ago. I've been on this path of self-discovery and self-exploration, and now love helping others do the same because the freedom you get when you understand yourself deeper at a deeper level, and when you start creating space for other people's stuff, life starts to shift for the better. So, yeah, after Dr. Tasha Eurich showed that only 10 to 15% of people actually are self-aware, that was a really shocking statistic for a lot of people because it made us realize that the majority of us don't see ourselves clearly, or the majority of us display certain behaviors that we're not aware of. We call them blind spots because they are literally blind to us. They operate in our subconscious, and we're not consciously aware of these behaviors that we're showing up, that we're displaying, I should say. So there are the key metric of a true self-aware person, and this is what Dr. Tasha Eurich discovered, was that personality tests and so on only get you so far because they're you assessing yourself. It's the perception of others towards you that determines whether you are self-aware. So someone who's self-aware is able to self-regulate in the moment. They don't get caught up in reactive, triggered um, states where they might get suddenly emotional or defensive or arrogant or dogmatic or judgmental or critical. All those sort of negative behaviors show up when someone is not necessarily able to regulate their own emotions in the moment. Self-aware people are very calm, unruffled. If something is triggering, they're able to create space in the moment and step back and respond rather than react. All the research shows that self-aware people and self-aware leaders are more fulfilled, more productive, they get promoted faster, and they get paid more, they're more successful, and most importantly, they're happier and fulfilled. And That's because self-aware people have done the internal work. And I'm not claiming that I'm a self-aware person. I'm on the journey, and I actively seek feedback from other people so that I can continuously look at my blind spots and try to understand them and resolve them. So it's not that we're trying to fix anything in ourselves. We're trying to outgrow with more calm, positive behaviors. So back in my early 20s, 30s, I was quite reactive and triggered often and would get emotional, even just internally, if you wouldn't see it on the surface. And so I struggled. I suffered of a lot of internal turbulence, you could say. The work that the emotional intelligence work I've done has helped me understand myself better, helped me see where these patterns originate from my childhood, how I've developed certain survival tactics to cope, um, and what's driving those behaviors, as I said. And so you can start to then just observe yourself and notice them and not get so drawn into things, but rather come at things from a place of neutrality and curiosity. And my great colleague James Bryden is the creator of the wisdom framework, WISDUMB, meaning the wiser we get, the more dumb we realize we are. It indicates a state of curiosity and openness to learning continuously. And wise people know that there is always more to learn, and there's always more we can learn about ourselves and each other. And yes, people who are self-aware are curious. They rather than get defensive, they can ask questions and try to seek to understand as opposed to getting defensive or angry. People who are self-aware allow themselves to be vulnerable because they're not afraid of rejection or that they know that vulnerability creates space to connect with other people. Being vulnerable helps other people let their guard down so they can truly connect to us. So, and then the other piece of the wisdom framework is uncertainty. It's being comfortable with uncertainty. It's knowing that we can't control all things, that there is a certain magic to life that is out of our control, and as well as there are negative things in life that we can't control, but it's being okay with that and it's rolling with that. And so someone who is self-aware, you'll see they are just internally content. They're curious, they're vulnerable, they dare to be vulnerable, and they are happy with and comfortable with uncertainty. Those are the key qualities that really help develop this deep self-awareness. Emotional intelligence is the awareness of yourself and your feelings as well as those of others. So it's being present with other people and giving them space to express what's going on for them. So when someone's talking, rather than thinking about the next thing you're going to say, it's really sitting and listening to that person and providing space for them and actively listening so that you can get curious and ask more questions and get vulnerable in return to help to encourage them to share more. And that's what creates real genuine connection, is when there's curiosity, there's vulnerability, there's non-judgment. And that's what helps people feel safe in the workplace as well. Leaders, managers, if you are coming at your role from a truly self-aware approach where you are there to genuinely support your staff and create a culture where it is safe to be vulnerable, it is safe to share feelings for the benefit of psychological safety for everyone. It is okay for people to speak their mind, for people to be honest. And that's why I love the role of emotional intelligence in the workplace, because when everyone feels psychologically safe and and you feel genuinely supported and that people see you, value you, hear you, then that's when a positive culture is created. That's when you avoid the passive aggressive behaviors and the aggressive assertive behaviors. So when you can create a workplace where only positive traits are naturally thrive, I should say, where they're naturally brings out the best of people, that's when you know you've created a really good workplace culture, and that comes through consistent focus on self-awareness and the development of emotional intelligence. And as I said, the key metric of someone who is actually self-aware as opposed to just thinking they're self-aware, it's having someone else assess that for you. And that's where it gets really uncomfortable because it's not easy to receive feedback. I remember when I first received my results as a team leader, I was quite I think I had to go in the bathroom and cry for a little bit. It was quite upsetting because it's uncomfortable to be confronted with our blind spots and the not so nice bits of our personality. And yet it's also essential. So it's about having the courage to sit with the discomfort of feedback and being okay with feedback and being curious and taking that feedback on and using it to learn and grow as a human. So I hope some of that's helpful. In this blog article below, I have listed my favorite tools for helping you develop self-awareness. Those are some of them can be done as 360-degree assessments like the Harrison, which is very, very helpful. And others are for personal exploration like the Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, and the Bank. So I hope these tools are helpful to you in your journey to discovering or to developing more emotional intelligence for yourself and your staff. If you have any questions, please reach out. Thanks so much. Bye for now.